Well, I know, but this is a good size screen, and the computer is built right into the screen. And I mean, I love it. I don't use it very often.
Yeah.
But it has like all my tax stuff on it, trust stuff on it, family stuff on it. Actually, it has a lot of the ordinances on it, but those might be on my iPad too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, I need to reorganize everything all over again.
Well, I mean, if your house has been in turmoil, you have a very good excuse.
It's never ending.
Mine is just never. I'm sitting here in my sunroom, and I have set myself up so that I have a perfect view through the big window that is on the other side of the big window are 3 of my bird feeders. And right now it's either, tea time or dinner time, because I just had a blue jay and a couple of cardinals. What do I have now? Okay, there's a female cardinal. Anyway, this is my entertainment. I sit for hours each day watching the birds.
Yeah.
Because
We're gonna let y'all know we're live, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, we're just talking about birds.
Perfectly fine.
Of course, things have been nice and quiet, and now the dogs are starting to come alive.
Well, I told you mine had to be put down. I knew you had one put down a couple months ago.
Yeah,
It's hard.
I know. It's not easy. Ooh.
No, especially when they've been with you for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Joey was my last dog.
Oh.
My sister won't let me have another one.
I may have to put these 2 in their kennel while the meeting is going on. I don't know. Can you see them?
No. I can't really see you. You're in the dark. Oh, look at them. Oh, they're so cute.
Here's the other.
I have to put my glasses on so I can study them better. Who's the bigger of the 2?
This is Melly and this is Tootsie. Let me go put them away before the meeting starts.
Okay.
Hey, Brian.
Brian, Nancy.
Hi, Brian.
Can you both hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Okay. By the clock on my wall, it's 6:03.
Oh, good. We'll see you at 6 to 3. We'll see you in 3 hours.
6:03.
6:03.
6:03. Hey,
So
I'll
call the August
my ears
4th,
out, so
2020 Planning and Zoning Commission of Smithville, Texas to order. I see that we have Caroline and Nancy. Do we not have Judy or James? We do not. We still have a quorum, so we'll proceed.
Is he at a football game? It's just be standing in front of a picture.
where's my other class?
Okay, first
that's
item
four.
on the agenda, or second item on the agenda is discussion and action of minutes from the July 7th, 2020 meeting. Caroline, Nancy, have you had an opportunity to review that?
I've read the minutes and move that we approve them as submitted.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the July 7th, 2020 meeting as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda, public hearing, discussion and action on a preliminary plat that includes variances and zone changes for lots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. A46 Lomas McMahon Edition. Owner George A. H. McMahon. Mr. McMahon, are you here?
Yes, I can hear y'all. I don't know. I'm kind of new to this.
So are we.
We can hear you and we can now see you.
There you are. Now we
Oh,
see.
okay.
We see.
Okay, perfect.
Just as a point of clarification, I saw in the packet a deed to a limited partnership. Is that the current owner of the property?
That is just a rough draft of some deed restrictions that I'm gonna probably impose on the property, something along those lines. It's not a deed, it's deed restrictions. And
Well, what I do see in the packet is a warranty deed and vendor's lien dated September 29th, 2017 from you to 230 Properties LLC, which has been filed of record.
well, that's when I sold on that property several years ago. They've paid that lien off. Yeah.
So we're trying to establish who is the correct owner of the property.
Well, if you remember, 4 or 5 months ago, I appeared before y'all and y'all granted me the zoning and things that I wanted on basically what is now lots 12 through 17. But I couldn't do the road going north without the cooperation of the owners to the north. And that's,
Well, Mr. McMahon, that's what I'm trying to establish. It's noticed as you as the owner, but 230 Properties LLC holds the title to the property. Is that correct? Are you speaking on behalf of the LLC?
Well, I'm trying to tell you, sir, that I own the property where lots 12, 13, 14, 15, and 17 are located, and they own the lots 1 through 11, and I'm acting as their agent to get this developed for them.
Okay, I thank you for that clarification.
Mhm.
That was my lack of understanding of what all I was reading.
Oh, that's all
I
right.
appreciate that. Well,
Sure.
you have a number of requests. Do you want to go through those and kind of give us the big picture before we go back and maybe discuss each one of the requests?
Yes, sir. I'd be more than happy to do that. And let me tell you, I'm up here in Lubbock, so you don't know me. You've only been in Smithfield a few years, but I'm not a Lubbock developer that's trying to swoop down into Smithfield and make a killing. I'm a local hometown boy. I went to Central School and Sam Houston Junior High and graduated from the old Red Brick High School in '62 and moved up to Lubbock, and went to school and got in the motorcycle business. And then I eventually got into the land development business. I've done well over 900 lots, 4 subdivisions out here. I'm just trying to do something in Smithfield that'll kind of help you guys out and take some vacant land and put it into something that people can build some houses on and move to Smithfield and add to y'all's tax base. So I'm not some out of town guy. I'm a local hometown guy. Nancy's met me on several occasions.
Yes, I have. And I've talked to several of your good friends and heard many stories.
Oh no, what now?
I'll
Don't
forget
believe.
some of them. That's
Yeah.
not the one.
Okay, well, now don't believe all of them. That's one nice thing about moving out to Lubbock. My 17 years in high school didn't carry with me, or 17 years in Smithville. So, but back down there, yes, there's friends that remember some things. Yes. Okay. In answer to your question, I do have several requests. Of course, the first one is just an obvious zone change. Some of this land was commercial, and I'm wanting to take it all back to single family, so it won't be commercial. Just trying to do a family neighborhood there. I've requested a 52-foot right of way. Y'all's standard dimension is 60 feet, but that's based on bar ditch drainage. And I learned a long time ago not to do bar ditch drainage. So I'm going to do a 31-foot curb street. The right of way is either 31 or 32. So the street width, curb to curb, is it's either 31 or 32. Tim Sanders can correct me on that. So I only need a 52-foot right of way. So I would like to request the variance from 60 foot down to 52, and it'll be a curbed street, not a bar ditch drain street. And then I've requested 20-foot front building setbacks instead of 25. That gives me, lets people move their house further to the front line, have a little bit bigger backyard, maybe lets the builder build a little bit bigger house if he wants to. We're going to have with that 52-foot right of way and a 32-foot street, you've got 10 extra feet up front anyway. So the houses won't look like they're sitting right on the street. They'll be back 30, even though it's only a 20-foot setback. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I've requested 5-foot side yard setbacks instead of 7.5. Every subdivision I've done out here, we've used 5-foot setbacks. And I sent y'all some pictures. I don't know if they printed them or if they're up on the screen, but that shows some of this. One set of those pictures is a subdivision I did. And I included those to show you that with 5-foot setbacks, those houses don't really appear all that jammed in. There's room between them. And one set of pictures is 60-foot lots, and the set that's got the mailboxes in it, those are 55-foot lots. And I think my lots are 57. So I wanted to give y'all an idea of how much room that is. It's still a good sized lot. I know most lots in Smithville are much bigger, but that ends up with a lot of yard for people to take care of it. The trend with buyers now is minimal yard, less stuff for dad to do on Saturday, so I can go play golf. And kids don't do PE in the backyards anymore. They do PE at school and they come home and play video games, unfortunately. But by allowing me the 20-foot front setbacks, that will let the backyards be bigger, so there will be more playroom in the back. Let's see, the other one, the sidewalks. Y'all's code requires that the sidewalks be built when you do the street. That would be a very foolish move. If I pour the sidewalks when I do the streets, the builders are going to destroy, or their subcontractors will destroy those sidewalks, because they're going to be crossing a piece of 3.5-inch concrete with backhoes to dig plumbing ditches. They're going to be backing cement trucks across them to pour the foundations. They're going to be backing brick trucks up or sheetrock trucks. They will destroy the sidewalks. We normally out here, the builder installs the sidewalks after he's got the house finished and after all of the big trucks are gone. So I would ask that y'all let me not pour the sidewalks when I do the street, and instead, and it's in those deed restrictions, instead let the builder do it when he builds the house. And Jack can control that with his building permit and final inspection. Nobody can slip that by, because he just won't give them a meter till they get their sidewalk done. And then the other one is the 48-foot radius on the face of the curb at that top cul-de-sac. And Tim can explain that better than I can, but I think y'all's code calls for a bigger one, but the International Fire Code from 2012 allows for a 48-foot radius. So it's just kind of modernizing y'all's code. And that's about it. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And I did send you a picture, a Google Earth photo that kind of shows the general area where that is. I think everybody will know, but it's just to the east of that retention pond, just south of 7th Street and right off Loop 230 east.
Sean?
They may be having technical difficulties, so just bear with us.
Okay, I just had a question. This is just for a zone change from commercial 3 to SF1. Is this being considered a subdivision under the subdivision ordinance or just under the regular building ordinances? Anybody there?
Nancy, we're presenting it as a plat, I think, a plat approval.
Yeah.
And zone request simultaneously, but they need to answer that. I don't know.
The reason
Try
I'm
it now,
asking you,
Sean or Jack. Try doing your, if that's what the problem was.
pardon? No,
Can you hear
because
me?
we've done very few subdivisions, and I just like a clarification.
Right there, Jack?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Who is
Yes.
that?
This
that's
is Jack.
Jack.
Mine
Yeah.
works too.
Yeah, this would be like a subdivision. Yes, you are correct.
Okay, so then it would go under the subdivision regulations.
Correct.
Okay. I'm assuming that y'all have met together on these requests.
We,
Jack.
yes, we have talked numerous times, but yes, I understand. And I've talked more with Tim because Tim is the one that drew most of this up for Mr. McMahon.
Okay. Do you have any big concerns about any of this?
As it's presented, no, I mean, it's the proposed 52-foot right of way
Thank you.
instead of a 60-foot. You're still getting a 52 plus an 8-foot, public utility easement. So you're still getting your 60-foot. And of course, I agree with him on the sidewalks. That's kind
Oh,
of
good.
the
Yeah.
cart before the horse, really. And then of course the 2012 fire code, that is obviously just an update, and that there's plenty of room to turn around the fire apparatus at the end of the cul-de-sac. Of course the other things are just, kind of common in what y'all deal with as far as just the setbacks.
Mhm.
But other than that, I think it's I feel that it's pretty straightforward anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense to me about the sidewalks especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember also too that, this is the plat, obviously any of the construction drawings or anything else will come at a later date. And Tim, if I said that wrong, please correct me. But I think that's what you had told me is once we get this approved, then it'll come back as a final plat. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes, sir. Yeah. What the plan was is once we get through this process, assuming we would get approval of the plat, then the next step, if we do get approval, would be to basically do a survey and design of the streets, the drainage, the water and sewer. And once we have those design plans ready, then we would submit those to the city for approval. And once that would get approved, then we would start construction on the infrastructure to serve the subdivision. And then probably either during construction or after construction, then the plan would be to submit the final plat to the city for approval. And then if approved, then it would be recorded officially.
Okay. So tonight you would want an approval of the plat and approval of the zone change. And then the variances that are listed here, or do those have to be approved right now individually, or is that something that?
So being that you're approving or disapproving the plat itself, those are recorded in the plat. So you are either approving these all as one, or you're disapproving. If you do not approve one, you have to disapprove the whole plat.
Okay.
Write down and make a note, a written out note saying that these are the reasons why we are not approving this plat. And but if you approve it, then you're approving it as with those variances, with those changes.
Does that include the zone change?
From C3 to SF1, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
It seems to me it would all, if that's all part of the package, that if I'm reading it right. Is that right, Jennifer?
Jack, help me on that. Is that right on the zone change as well?
Yes, that's the way I would look at it. Yes.
Yeah.
You're
okay,
approving this all as a package.
right.
Okay.
That is how the chair sees it.
Yeah.
That's the end of my questions, I think.
I have one question about the sidewalks. If I understood correctly, you would say after construction of the home, then the sidewalks would be put in for that home. Devil's advocate, what if you didn't sell all the lots and the construction didn't occur? Would we have a patchwork of sidewalks possibility?
Yes, that's a very strong possibility. Well, it's not a strong possibility. It's a possibility. I can't imagine with what I've heard about how many people want to move to Smithville and the need for lots. I can't imagine it being a problem, but that occurs regularly in new subdivisions here. Lots are typically not built on in sequence. So you build a house, you pour the sidewalk for that lot, and then there's a gap, and you know, when somebody buys that lot and builds the house, then they pour that sidewalk. So it could take a year or two to get it all finished, but realistically, people don't use sidewalks too much. They might this one to walk down to the Texaco, but the street would be there for the interim. I mean, till the houses are all built.
Mm-hmm. For some of us in town, in fact, I think the three of us here talking that are here do not have sidewalks.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, they're hit or miss in town already as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think Mayor Bunny went back retroactively and was trying to do a lot of curb and gutter on some of the streets to
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
and stuff. And of course, you know, I mean, I was raised there. I know, you know, that bar ditch drainage and no sidewalks has really got a comfortable feel to it, but it's also impractical. These days, you need the curb and gutter type streets for drainage and control, so its grass isn't growing out into the streets and stuff. And that then allows you to build sidewalks along with the house. And over time, and it might take a year or two to sell and build these out, although I think they'll go quicker. I hope, certainly. because the Loop 230 or whatever their partnership is, we're all going to be investing quite a bit of money in paving and water and sewer lines to get this done, and we hope to sell them out pretty quickly.
Will the drainage issues help with the water issues on 7th Street as well? Because I know
Tim would have to answer that.
Pardon?
Yeah, what we would be doing is we would be providing additional detention volume to offset the development of these lots and so forth. In other words, providing for basically all the lots today, just about the whole majority of it drains into the detention pond. Of course, what we have today is, undeveloped drainage that goes into the detention pond. And so as part of the design plans, the plan would be to provide additional detention volume such that it would offset the development of this street and the houses and so forth, to mitigate it to where it would be equivalent to what exists today.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Back to the sidewalks. Will the sidewalks be constructed in the 8-foot utility easement?
Yes, sir. They'll be back of curb. I have in those restrictions back of curb, meaning no 1.5 foot or 2 foot gap between the curb and the sidewalk. Since y'all don't have sidewalks and have primarily bardages, you don't know the nightmare it is to have a sidewalk that's 2 foot from the curb, and you try to water and maintain a narrow strip of property. It's very hard to water, very hard to maintain and mow. So in my subdivisions, and you'll note in those pictures that I gave you, if you look at closely, the sidewalks butt up to the curb. So there's no narrow gap of grass to take care of. That's a very ecological way to landscape.
Just for clarification, that sidewalk, to follow up with what George says, being adjacent to the curb, that would be part of the in the public right of way. It wouldn't be in that 8-foot PUE.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, if it's in the right of way, who's is it a developer cost to put those sidewalks in, or is that going to be borne by the property owner who doesn't own that right of way?
The builder will put them in at the time of construction of the house.
At the cost of the homeowner?
Yes. It's a cost to the builder and will be passed along to the homeowner. It's about $1,000.
At the cost of the homeowner?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions?
No, I don't. I had someone asking me about the drainage pond again. Since we haven't had a lot of rains since that's been built, I mean, we've had some. I guess there's concern as to, will it be, you said you're going to expand it to make it bigger to accommodate the drainage from the new construction, correct?
That is correct. Basically, post-development would be equivalent to pre-development conditions.
Okay. Okay.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is basically, as it exists today, the only impervious cover that's draining to the detention pond from this development is where Bobby Barnett's house is, the roof drainage and driveway. And once we develop this subdivision, you're going to have additional runoff from the streets and the rooftops and the driveways and so forth. So basically, what we would do is provide for additional detention volume to offset that additional volume from the rooftops and streets. So for instance, and I don't have the exact numbers, but let's say the increase in runoff volume from this development would be 2 acre-feet. What we would do in this instance is we would provide 2 additional acre-feet to offset that additional runoff.
Okay,
Would you by any chance encourage any of the developers or homeowners to have water collection systems in their property, on their property? Like water collection tanks to help with that drainage issue?
You know, I mean, if they wanted to, they could. I mean, I would say that'd really be up to the property owner. You may have some people that would want to do that, some people that may not. You know, I guess kind of the purpose of the additional detention volume would be to take that onus off of the property owner and put it on the developer themselves, so that, you know, certainly if the property owner would do that, that would make it that much better. But it's a lot easier to put that onus on the developer, one person, than it would be to put it on 17 different property owners, for instance. So it's basically trying to head it off at the pass to make sure that the existing conditions that exist today, you would have an equivalent conditions post-development. In other words, you would have a similar situation to what exists today. He wouldn't be making the situation any worse. It would be the same as what it is today, possibly better, but it wouldn't be any worse.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do we have anyone who's signed up to speak or send in written comments on this agenda item?
Not on this agenda item.
Okay. So no other
well,
questions?
I already asked if the city had any concerns. It doesn't sound like at this point they do.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, but this is going to take a while. I make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat that includes variances, zone changes for A46 Lomas L acres, 2.505, owner 230 Properties LLC, McMahon, wait a minute, addition, lot 7, 0.1602 acres, McMahon addition, lot 6, 0.1610 acres, McMahon addition, lot 5, 16.1602 acres, McMahon addition, lot 4, 0.1645 acres, McMahon addition, lot 3, 0.1561 acres, McMahon addition, lot 2, 0.3935, owner George H. McMahon.
I second that.
You want to repeat it?
As
All right.
stated.
I have a motion and a second for recommendation to City Council for the approval of a zone change, as Nancy pointed out, and for the granting of variances, as Nancy pointed out. And having determined that the factors to be considered for the granting of variances set forth in Chapter 14, Section 553 of the City of Smithville Code of Ordinances have been met, all those in favor raise their right hand.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Same sign? No. The motion carries. Mr. McMahon, this matter will be taken up at the next city council meeting, which is next Monday. I believe that's the 10th. And it'll also be a Zoom meeting. Which
And I
you should
need to
have.
tell y'all that my wife is extremely upset that y'all are having Zoom meetings because she doesn't get to come to front room and eat their food.
I'm so, well, she's not the only one that might be a bit upset.
She and Victoria have gotten to be quite good friends, and we
I'm
get.
I'm sure she's missing you too.
Well, yeah, we were down there about a month ago, and I was so excited about coming down there. We were going to drive down yesterday, and so we were gonna go eat with Victoria after this meeting. As a matter of fact, and she's doing pork loin tonight, which is like one of Linda's favorite things. So I'll be glad when we get back to normal and we can go back to having regular meetings, and we can go eat at the nice places in Smithville and enjoy our lives again. So anyway, well, thank y'all very much for your consideration. And I mean,
Well, thank you.
about this project.
Thank you.
I think it's going to use up some property that's just sitting there that we can do something good with. And if you figure each house at a couple $100,000, that's $3.5, maybe $4 million tax base. It won't hurt anything. And if the 230 people own the land back to the east that I bought from Polly Ann, and then they bought it from me, and they're working with a different engineer to get it developed. And we hoped that we could tie this all together, but so far we can't. But they'll be coming to y'all for too long, I hope, and do something, and they can add about 30 or 40 lots. So should be good for the city.
Looking forward to
Good.
it.
Okay, well, thank y'all again.
Thank you very much. We'll move
you.
now to agenda item number 4, public hearing and discussion and action on a fence variance at 154 FM 2571, Tobin Edition, Block 5, Lot 11, owner Linda D. Allen. You moved up to my top corner. I thought you had disappeared.
Oh, there she.
You need to
She's-
take yourself off of mute.
Sorry, forgot. Yeah, I don't know why Zoom does that. It moves you around just randomly. It's crazy.
Keeping you on your toes.
I don't know. I don't know what it's keeping me.
Yeah.
Hey, members, there's quite a bit of material in the packet.
Mhm.
Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to read the material and look at the pictures.
So you did receive my pictures today?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a pretty good idea of what your situation is. I don't want to cut you off, but we have studied the packet, so maybe not as much detail as in there, but if you could tell us what it is you're trying to achieve here.
Okay, what I'm trying to achieve is if you had a chance to look at the pictures, it just so happens the way they turned these houses are all the same floor plan, but they randomly turn them one way or the other, they flip them. And it just so happens that the house that's on the side of concern, it's the very narrow part of land on my side and the very narrow part of land on that side.
Mhm.
But the other main issue is that for some reason, which I guess was just the lay of the land, I don't know, most all the houses here are on just flat land. And I happen to be a couple of feet higher than the other houses. And it's almost like I'm like on a stage. And so my fence is on the bottom of the slope. And that's where you count the height of the fence, from the land that it's placed on.
Mhm.
But it literally turns a 6-foot fence into about a 4-foot fence. And it's almost like you are just in the face of the neighbor on their carport when I'm on my carport. I don't know if that makes sense to you. If you please ask questions if this is not making sense. And when it's really nice people that live there, I still feel like that if the husband and wife come out and have a little conversation, I'm just right in the middle of it when I'm out. And that is my extra living space. I turned half of my carport into a screened-in porch. And I just feel like I'm right in their face. But as you probably hopefully read in my material, it is not usually just really wonderful neighbors that have lived there. There have been some really creepy neighbors that have lived there. And some loud neighbors, some obnoxious neighbors, some really rude neighbors. And I will be really upfront and honest with you. I was not even able to go. My back porch is under an enormous tree. Smithville is so famous for the trees, the most incredible trees ever. I have one in my backyard and one in the alley and one in my front yard. And when you sit in my backyard, you can go out there even today on a day like this in September or August August, you can sit on my porch and it's lovely for all but a few hours in the late afternoon when the sun kind of goes between two trees and sets into, in my porch area and it's warm. I can sit out there in the morning. I can sit out there in the evening. It's just a whole incredible living space. And when you're in the screened-in porch, you don't have all the bugs and mosquitoes attacking you. So it's just incredible place to sit. That when company comes over, if it's just any other time but that horrible hot afternoon, we almost always sit out there. I go out in the morning and have my tea and do my meditation. And I've really worked hard to landscape my yard. Thank you very much, Grandma's Nursery and Reese, my two favorite things. And I've just made it a nice little sanctuary for me. And when I am sitting out there and I've got rude people or scary people or noisy people staring at me, it's very, very uncomfortable. So I just literally don't have the use of my back porch when that fence is not raised. And so my neighbor, and if you guys have a contradiction to this, I'm going to be grateful. You can't find a handyman in Smithville. That's my only criticism of Smithville. I have no fault in Smithville. I love it. I've been here 2 years. My house burned down and I thought I'd never have a home again. And I just love this home and I'm really happy here, but you can't get a handyman. And my next door neighbor was gracious enough. He's in construction and he was between jobs and he was gracious enough to do some handyman stuff for me. And I just told him, I said, I've got to do something. And we couldn't figure out a solution that would look good and not, not be flimsy. And, I was thinking of a curtain down the side of my carport but that would, not really look very nice. And it would be a cheap looking thing. So he came up with the idea of just for that section by the carport, raising the fence. So now it's more like I have a 6-foot fence there instead of the 4-foot fence. I can see the tops of their heads a little bit occasionally. And it really does mute the sound a whole lot. And it's just for the carport area. So I can visit with them in the front yard. I can visit in the backyard. I can visit when they go down the alley. It's not to unfriend people, but it's just to give me a place where I can enjoy sitting outside without people staring at me. And we checked the regulations, but we failed to check. Last November, there was a new addendum and we didn't check that addendum. And so it is our fault. It is for not being thorough when we checked and we put those slats up. So what I am asking of you is to please consider giving me a variance on just that small portion of fence being raised just between the two carports so that I am enjoying sitting out there now. It's been up now for a few months and it's fantastic. I can go out every day, all the time. And it's wonderful. So I know it is against the regulations and that's why I am requesting a variance. And to prove how important this is to me, on a retired teacher's income, I plopped down the $475. That's how serious I am. I know when a construction company plops down 475, that's not that much of a big deal, but that was a hard decision for me to make. But that's how badly I would like this privacy. I love being in the neighborhood. I have great neighbors all around me. Just the one beside me has been the problem. And of course, it's the close one.
Mhm.
And this is a great little neighborhood. I've got lots of friends. In fact, hopefully they got their emails to you. And I really purposely bought a house with a small lot because I didn't want, just like the other gentleman said, I didn't want a large yard to take care of. And because I live alone, I like to have neighbors close. And, they bring me gifts. They're really sweet. My neighbor on the other side, when we had a tornado warning, he came over and asked, did I want to come to their house? He was so worried about me. I just have really, really sweet neighbors, and I love it here. I don't want to live on 30 acres and not have neighbors.
Mhm.
So I know I have noise here. That's not the issue. I know I have people close. I like that. I just would like my one little spot to be able to enjoy. And so I guess I'll just see if you have questions at this point, because I don't want to repeat everything that's in my material.
Thank you. Nancy or Caroline, do you have any questions?
No, I
Ms. Al?
drove by there the other day and I saw this part that was raised up, the 8-foot part. And I understand why it was done.
Thank you.
I went by there too. It would appear also, since you said there's no parking at the front of the house, because it is a state highway, I guess that. So that's,
Yes, they sent us a letter stating clearly that they own every square inch up to my curb, and we are not allowed to use it. And
okay. So,
if we do, they will tow it.
okay. So people basically then are coming to your back door.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
The fence, where, this is a 6 foot, and then there's an area that goes up,
Mhm.
and then it goes up a little bit more. And
Stair steps up.
was it done that way to look decorative?
We were trying to blend it instead of just having one level and then all of a sudden raise up. We thought we'd just
Yes,
to make
stair step it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was it. That was in hopes to blend it a little better.
Mhm.
How you have the 20 foot here but how wide is that particular area?
I think it's 22 feet, I believe is what I measured. It's the length of my carport, actually.
Oh, okay. Because it didn't look, I didn't get out and measure anything, but I was back there trolling the alley and looking.
And
Yeah, I
see,
was going-
Your screen porch is lovely, by the way.
it is. I wish I could invite you in.
Okay. So I don't have any questions. I understand some of your concerns. The homes are fairly close together.
Right.
Unfortunately, not all of us are blessed with great neighbors. Some of us are, some of us aren't. We never know who's going to buy or possibly rent next door. So I can understand your desire for privacy, being a single woman, because I am also a single woman. But other than that, I don't have any great problems with it, because
Yeah.
to me, it did look a little bit more decorative. Does the city have any comments or concerns, Jack,
Did the neighbors say anything?
or the neighbors?
We do have some comments.
Do we? Because I have not heard, I don't have anything
we do have some comments and we'll have those read in. But go ahead. If the city has any response to Nancy's question, I'd be interested to hear it also.
Well, as I've said before on these variances, if like Nancy and me and Nancy say this all the time, if we wouldn't have a problem with it, we wouldn't be here. It's not the issue is just it just doesn't meet the code, and that's the reason you come and ask for variances. So, that's, I mean, it's a nice fence, but on the other side of that, it doesn't meet our city code. So that's the reason she's here.
Mhm. Well, and I noticed here that, and this is more for the city council, that there's some of the things that they have to take under consideration, like special circumstances and conditions affecting the land involved, such that the strict application of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land, and the variance is necessary for preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right of the applicant, and the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to other property in the area, and the granting of the variance will not have the effect of preventing the orderly subdivision of other land in the area in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance. And am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Those are the considerations for a variance that the council makes, and should also be what our considerations should be.
Right.
That's why I have you style the motions when we're involved variances, the way I ask you to prepare those
I
motions.
know we
I
be
don't want to
good.
recommend something to the city unless we can make a recommendation that it meets the requirements for a variance under the code. Otherwise, I don't think we're fully doing our job.
Thank you. Thank you. You're never too old to learn. And I am old.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that, right?
That's
Yeah, so,
my comment at this point.
right. So have any of the other neighbors, are they in attendance at the meeting?
I was told they couldn't be in attendance, so I recommended they send emails.
Okay, because I didn't see any emails. That's why I was,
Well,
I
they
haven't.
just came this
Them.
afternoon.
We have those, and that's why I'm going to ask the city
Okay.
to read those now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we give them up till 5 o'clock to respond, so that y'all aren't checking your email right before the meeting. We are, and so that's why we will into the minutes. So I have a Diana Tisdale. As I'm opposed to the fence variance in the Tobin addition that will be discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I am concerned for so many reasons. Some include maintaining my property value. My properties look out to the 10 to 12 foot pickets inserted in the 6 foot fence, very unattractive, and may make selling my home more difficult in the future. The entire fence line is 6 foot with long pickets inserted in the middle of the 6 foot fence. 2, the long-term sustainability of the 10 to 12 foot pickets inserted in the middle of the fence that was designed to support 6 foot pickets. Wrapping has already started. Maintaining the patio home community look of the Tobin addition with all homes tied together with the same fencing. 4, if the variance is passed, it will be permanent and any fence can be constructed in the future, or the pickets extending over the 6 foot supports will be there indefinitely, regardless of the wrapping. People are also building things and storing items above the 6 foot fence, and that was not happening prior to the buildup. Number 5, while I understand Linda's concern for the neighborhood, our neighborhood really offers no exceptions of privacy to anyone because the homes are so close together and we will use the same access road as we enter and exit our homes. Building huge fences that look good to the homeowner without consideration of the impact of the neighborhood and others is not the answer. I also have a comment from Joanna Hellenkamp. She says, as the current owner adjoining property where Miss Linda lives, we are appreciative of her intuitive need for the additional sound deadening from the Airbnb that is located on the opposite side of the property. Due to the increased height of the fence, the noise reduction effect has been wonderful. Beck Hellenkamp and I are in full agreement with Linda regarding the need for the additional height of the fence. We fully support the fence and the current state of it, including the height. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. I also received a call from the neighbor, Jerome Mazek at 148 Highway 2571. He is in favor of the fence and said it looks fine and you can't see it from the road. Then Miss Berg, am I going too fast?
Nope, we got 2 for and 1 against.
So, and Miss Wahlberg says, I am Mary Ann Wahlberg and have been a resident of Smithville for 43 years. When my husband, Dr. Earl Wahlberg, and I first moved to Smithville with our family, we built our first home at 1001 Colorado Drive. It was across the street from a mobile home park. There was an attempt by one mayor of Smithville to have this mobile home park removed, and we opposed it. It was because one of the things we enjoy about living in Smithville was the diversity of the neighborhoods. We had moved from Houston, where our subdivision was composed of families very similar to ours. We enjoyed the diversity provided in Smithville. I have personally seen the additional raised fence at Linda Allen's house and think that it provides a minimal amount of privacy for each person as they are outside their home. It does not impede the interaction between neighbors. The diversity of this community is still maintained. Thank you for your diligent committee for this service they render to our community. It is a valuable service and is well appreciated. Please feel free to contact me. And that is all the comments I have.
Okay,
So it sounds like she was for it.
Yes, she was for the fence.
Yeah, so
but she's not an actual neighbor.
no,
Yeah,
No, she's just a friend who comes over.
yeah.
right.
The other ones are actual neighbors.
Yes.
Looks like 2 of them face the highway and the one that's opposed is on Shade. which
Yes,
is okay. Got it.
that's correct.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? I do note that 2 things. Hopefully good fences make good neighbors. I don't know if this accomplishes that or not. At least one other neighbor sees it differently from you as far as whether it's a plus or a minus for the area. But that's why we have public hearings.
Right. I do have a question. In this subdivision, is your house the only one that's been raised up a couple of feet because of the landscaping that was there? I mean, the trees or the roots or whatever of the trees that were there?
It must be it must be the natural lay of the land because of the trees being there. And yes, I am the only one raised.
Okay.
I mean, it's quite a slope on either side on that side of my house.
Yeah.
And I know you really couldn't see that without coming into my yard.
Right.
But I'm learning, I feel like a little bit of a mountain goat when I'm walking up and down that side to water because I've learned to have my legs used to one down and one up, walking. And when I water, the water just pours down to that fence and under it. My neighbor thanks me for watering his yard too, which is, as long as it's getting used, useful, that's okay. But, it is, I make it sound like it's a cliff. It's not a cliff, but yes, it is definitely a slope. And I hadn't even thought about that till you ask it, but it has to be the natural lay of the land because of the trees.
Okay.
Trees. I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but it seems like it must be.
Okay.
I do know that I've had a gentleman come from down the street and tell me that, well, and one from behind us also, that before they built this little addition here, that when they were kids and they'd come to their grandparents' house or their, or the ones that lived there, this was their place to play, and they'd tie up their horses at the trees. And I've heard all kinds of stories of what this land was used for before our houses, from their childhood. So they were very grateful that the trees were saved.
Okay, another question is, if you keep this up, the person who was opposed to it was talking about wrapping. I think they might have been warping of the boards.
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant to say something about that, and I just got sidetracked. It's she has to be saying warping.
That's what I'm thinking.
And my neighbor that put that part of the fence up was ready to support it, and then we got the citation, and so we were waiting for him to do the extra work to put another crossboard until we found out is it going to, and he said, let's don't put the crossboard if we're just going to have to take it down, So he is ready to do that, waiting for an answer. And he's going to do it. The crossboards are going to face my side of the house, not the other side.
So they'll have the pretty side.
Yes, yes. No, the crossboards will be done, and he'll do them to match the other crossboards. But we realized quite a while ago that needed extra support, the extra height, and that will positively be done.
Okay.
In fact, if y'all are a little bit positive about this, he may go ahead and do that this week and cross our fingers about the council or whatever you guys, unless you have a different recommendation. But if I said, well, let's at least see what you guys say before we spend the time and money to put the additional supports on there. Thanks for bringing that up. I meant to say that, and then I got sidetracked listening to your other comments.
Yeah. Have you considered any other kind of landscaping, whether it's bamboo or a thorny bush or something like that? I mean, I'm just asking, or trees or something.
I'm 71 and a half years old. I don't know how many years it would take to get it to be 8 feet tall and solid enough to be I have considered that. I absolutely have considered that, but I don't want to be rude, but
I understand.
I'm 71 and a half. I want to start enjoying it now. And if I have to wait 5 years for it to be solid and high enough to be a barrier.
I get it. I just had to ask.
It's a good question. It's a good question, Caroline. It's a very good question. But, and I did, you won't believe what all I considered. That was definitely one of them. And I've planted bushes here, and in 2 years, they're maybe 3 feet high, the big ones.
Okay.
So,
I get it. Okay. I just had to ask.
Okay, well, I do know.
Well, I think of terms of a trellis and rapidly growing vines, and it probably wouldn't take very long at all for that to create a.
Not allowed. I already asked. I asked the city, could I put a trellis there? Could I cut this fence off and put a trellis above it? Yes, I can put a trellis. That's allowed. Can I grow vines on it? Absolutely not. It has to have 4 foot openings. And you walk around town and you look at trellis, you look at that kind of trellis thing that you can buy, the big trellis boards, 4 feet wide holes in it. It has to be 4-to-1 open.
I'm not talking about an ornamental fence.
Yeah, that sounds like a fence.
Yeah, but the trellis could not be above 6 feet.
Okay.
If it's in the fence line, I think that's probably correct to be considered a fence, but
Well-
another screening structure might be possible.
Okay, putting it where, I'm a little bit confused.
Well, if it's not in the fence line, it's something inside your yard that would act as a screen.
So like if it's 1 inch inside the fence line?
Well, I don't know.
The
1
problem
inch
is
is-
that side of the yard is so narrow.
Narrow already. Yeah.
It is like, I don't think it's 5 feet
Mhm.
on that side. I mean, it's something like that. I could look it up, but it's very, very narrow. And that's what, I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't do that, but it would have to be a very strong support. See, it couldn't be, usually trellises are supported by the fence.
Right.
And you're talking about building a whole, it's kind of like building a second structure of fence and then putting a trellis, you know, like building the frame of a fence, and then you would put the trellis in the interim between the bars. And that's the cost of putting almost a whole new fence up.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that wouldn't, and that was one of the things I talked about with my neighbor when we talked about a lot of plans.
Mhm.
You're exactly right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but
I understand.
I've already spent over $800 on what's there now,
Mm.
plus my $475 that I paid you guys. So to start over with a whole new,
For the record, let's let that reflect that that was a fee to the city and not a payment to the commissioners. Nancy will understand
I'm sorry.
why I'm sensitive to the payment to you guys.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You're right. It did go to the city, and I don't mind giving Smithville money because I know they'll use it wisely. I'm just saying I've already pulled a lot of money out of my pocket.
Mhm. Mhm.
That would have to literally have posts that were inserted in concrete like you do a fence to hold up if it was going to be not touching the fence.
Okay, I know from the front of the house, I could not see that area that was 8 foot.
Right.
And from the back of the house, to me, as the wood ages and blends more, it looks like it's more ornamental. I understand your concerns, and I think that in looking at the things that we're supposed to consider for variances, that this comes in under that.
Mhm.
So,
I'll entertain a motion, Nancy.
okay, just a minute. Let me get the cheat sheet. Having determined that the factors to be considered for the granting of a variance is set forth in Chapter 14, Section 5.5.3 of the City of Smithville Code of Ordinances have been met, I move that we approve a motion for fence variance at 154 Farm Road 2571, Tobin Addition, Block 5, Lot 11, owner Linda D. Allen.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to recommend the variance as requested. All those in favor, raise the right hand. Any
Aye.
opposed? None opposed? It passes. This will be taken up at the September City Council meeting, not the one in August.
And what was the date of that, please?
It will be the second Monday in September.
The
Second Monday.
14th.
Okay, because originally the letter said the 4th, and I think that's a Memorial Day weekend.
Where the 7th is Labor Day.
Yeah,
So it'll be
okay.
the 14th.
Okay, great. I just wanted to be sure and put that on my calendar. And it'll be a Zoom meeting as well.
Pretty
Thank-
certain it will be.
Or you'll let me know.
Yeah.
Ms. Allen, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
I appreciate you and I appreciate your suggestions. Maybe I should have had the committee meet with me to help me with ideas before I started this.
We don't do that.
I will call on you next time I have a problem to solve in my yard.
Well, I don't think Nancy or Caroline charged $475, but I might, so.
I think Nancy and Caroline both are willing to freely give our opinions.
Okay, well then I might just call Caroline and Nancy. Brian, I don't know. You may have a good idea though. I don't want to miss.
Oh, no.
I will agree with that last gentleman that little strip of grass in between the sidewalk and the curb is a pain in the neck.
Yeah, I have a dead stretch in front of my office, so I know exactly.
Yeah, it's just not, I always wondered why they did that. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and your consideration. And I will see what happens on September 14th. And
Thank you very much.
thank you
Yes.
for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Okay.
As,
Bye.
as we said, as Brian said, we just recommend to the city council.
I know.
And we'll see you there
Right.
because all three of us, well, Brian makes the presentation, but we'll know we won't. We'll be on Zoom. But
We'll be zooming, Nancy.
And I guess no meat for dinner after either. I was starting to get excited about that.
no.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. I
Thank
hope
you.
it all works out.
I do too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. The
Oh.
fifth item on our agenda has been withdrawn by the applicant. So that takes care of our business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move that we adjourn this meeting.
It's about
Well,
time you made a motion.
Got a motion and a second, and all those in favor say aye.
All right.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, City of Smithfield.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. See ya.
Bye.